Welcome to Fight News Now Extra. I'm your host, John Pollock, and the UFC made their return to Brazil this past weekend, and it was the return of Carlos Condit. We'll chat about his main event bout, an exciting featherweight fight in the co-feature spot, and the fallout from the UFC's Fight Night card with John Ramdine and Robin Black coming up. Carlos Condit made his return after 14 months away from the cage after suffering a torn ACL and partially torn meniscus. The result was the same style of fight Condit has utilized with an aggressive start in his fight with Thiago Alves. After a very close first round, Condit pulled away in the second, with the key blow being an elbow that would shatter the nose of Alves. The fight was stopped by the doctor at the end of the second due to the severity of the nose break for Alves. It was 4 years since their first fight, and Charles Oliveira and Nick Lentz picked up where they left off with another exciting bout. The two went back and forth throughout the first round. Lentz connected with strikes, and Oliveira was covering up before he dropped Lentz towards the end of the round. After two explosive rounds, it was Oliveira jumping and locking in the fight-ending guillotine in the third and getting the tap at the 110 mark and jumping up a spot in the UFC's featherweight rankings. And in lightweight action, the Brazilian cowboy Alex Oliveira met KJ Nunes. The fight began with Nunes landing his strikes, but Oliveira got the body lock and would take down Nunes repeatedly, finally transitioning to the back of Nunes and locking in the rear naked choke for the submission at the 251 mark of the opening round and securing his first victory inside the UFC. Saturday night, we will be live with our 1-hour pre-fight show starting at 7 p.m. Eastern Time with John Ramdine, Robin Black, and myself previewing the Fight Night card from New Orleans, Louisiana, featuring Tim Boach and Dan Henderson, and 4 prelim fights will be coming your way 8 p.m. Eastern Saturday night. And I'm here with John Ramdine and Robin Black. Lots of fights to discuss. A rare weekend of full fights. Before we chat about the UFC in Brazil, I want to hear your experience, Robin.
Global Warriors.
Oh yeah, it was great. I went out and commentated Global Warriors in Burlington, Ontario. The very best of the fighters in Ontario, the ones just beneath the UFC and the top level shows. Ontario's a tough one because the commission here is a little crazy and there's only about one show a year, so you end up with all the best guys. And awesome fights, tons of great finishes, high-level stuff, great sold-out crowd. I think the first sold-out non-UFC crowd ever in Ontario. Just congratulations to all the fighters and to Global Warriors.
Do you see this changing at all in Ontario? Do you see any kind of... the demand is there, I feel, for more fight cards. Is that something that we can actually expect this year and beyond?
With Hayashi, the word is that he's going to be out soon.
Well, the long and the short of it is, I like the commissioner personally. I know him, but he is quicksand for the process. You want to put on a show here, it's way too expensive. He turns down about 50% of all the fights you propose and creates a ton of hurdles that make it almost impossible. For whatever reason, whether it's a personal issue of his or it's just the way he does business, he's damaging to fighting in Ontario. That's just the truth. The commission here is. And there's going to be a new head, so maybe it'll change. Hopefully it will, because Ontario, once upon a time, Canada was the hotbed of MMA, and Ontario was the home, and hopefully that'll happen in the future.
And this is a bigger problem if you're just simply a UFC fan looking at who the fighters of tomorrow are going to be. These fighters they need fights more than anything. Forget the fact that they have to travel. Some of them don't even make money off of these fights. So it is a labor of love, and there's many people that when they're weighing life options and you want a career in MMA and you can't even fight in your backyard, much less even go to the next province, you're looking at a different vocation, and you're losing out on fighters that could be your next level of stars, and it's unfortunate, and that seems to be something across the board we're seeing in Canada, beyond just Ontario. But I digress, and we move over to the UFC card from Brazil in Goiania. Carlos Condit returned after 14 months away, looking great against Thiago Alves. I thought a very close first round, and then in the second, Carlos really pulled away, the key blow being that elbow to the face, and Thiago Alves suffering one of the more gruesome broken noses I've seen ever in MMA. Nasal bone was dislodged. I mean, horrific stuff.
Yeah, but Thiago Alves training at American Top Team. I'm sure he's seen that type of damage that his teammates have inflicted on others and vice versa. This is part of the game, and anybody that is a fan of Carlos Condit and realize that this guy is a true talent knows that he's capable of doing these things. And for Thiago Alves, as you mentioned, looked good in that first round. However, it kind of played into the hand of Carlos Condit, not really a fast starter. But I think that after that performance, we still see that Thiago Alves has a place at 170.
I want to first give kudos to Robin Black. A tremendous breakdown last week of Condit and Alves, and watching Condit, just the way he'd circle the head and everything. I mean, Robin nailed
helping us understand.
Thank you. Yeah, I really enjoy watching that guy fight. And some of the best guys are the easiest to break down because you see the beauty so clearly. Both Anik and Brian Stan did reference, in a combination, you never know when it's going to end, especially when the head's moving up. Thanks for not referencing and giving me credit for the breakdown, guys. Just kidding. But not really. But it is fun to break down the very best of the best. And Condit is absolutely one of those. When you see that level of skill, for me, it might as well be black and white. You just see how high or above people that other fighters that they are. Condit, I thought, started that first round exactly as I expected, which was disguising the idea of the feeling out process. Because when we'll commentate, the feeling out process. Fans will say, the feeling out process. If we can identify that, often you see open hands, looking to parry, clearing space, being defensive, making sure you don't engage too far. If you're that level of feeling out process, Alves and his team see it, and there's certain blitzes and attacks you do against the guy because he's not dangerous. Condit disguised it as about 40% offense, 60% feeling out, very reactive, moving nicely, controlling distance and touches and timing, nothing hard, beautiful stuff. So he understood the distance, and what he trained Alves to do was expect this distance fighting, playing at distance, then closed in close and smashed him to the face. Unexpectedly. So there's even more beauty from that guy. One of the greatest stand-up fighters in the game of MMA.
And quickly on Charles Oliveira, another great fight with Nick Lentz, submitting him this time around. No controversy with this victory. We were discussing it earlier. I mean, Max Holloway is somebody that might make sense for Oliveira in his next outing.
Yeah, of course. Two young guys, and you know where they're going to be. You've seen the talent. You've seen how much they've developed. And for Oliveira, having those losses against top guys, I think he's just going to continue to improve, and I think he's going to become one of the best 145-pound fighters in the world.
Yeah, and on the surface, first thing you think is, Oliveira looks so good on the ground against a great wrestler that maybe he'd beat Holloway there, but Holloway's really hard to get in on his hips. So hard to get to that point, and he's really good at distance. Yeah, that is a fun fight. This was a great fight, though. Yeah. Don't sleep on Nick Lentz. He's a lot of fun. We love Nick Lentz now.
And as we talk about Ryan Jimmo and Frantimar Bahos, we're out of time. I'm sorry, guys. More Fight News Now Extras coming up.